I'm
camera.
positive.
How about them Giants? How about them Giants? How about them Giants?
Giants fans, what is going on? And welcome to another episode of Draft Talk. We're doing a unique episode tonight, all right? Typically, our format is we grab 10 guys, 15 guys of each position group, and we'll just go one by one, and we'll talk about the top prospects, the validity, where we project them to go, whatever the case might be, and we go for an hour. That's not going to be the case tonight. We're making this very simple. We're just talking about Shedeur Sanders, just him, his abilities, what makes him special, because he could very well be the Giants quarterback. We've had 2 episodes about some of the quarterbacks this past during this year where we interviewed the high school football head coach. Unfortunately, this year we were unable to get anybody affiliated with Shedeur Sanders. It's a little bit challenging because generally anybody that was affiliated with him in high school actually did carry over into the coaching staffs that he worked with at Jackson State and then eventually Colorado. So we have our special guest on tonight. It's Joker, who's been certainly higher on Shedeur Sanders. And let's just call it what it is. We as a fan base, the Giants, are very split on Shedeur Sanders. I'm pretty high on him. If the Giants got him at 3, I'd be very happy. But a lot of fans will lose their minds. And a lot of fans don't find his character will translate well to the NFL, or they have concerns with the dynamics with Dion, or they're concerned about the playing abilities and whether or not what he did at Colorado is going to translate to the NFL level. But the bottom line is the Giants are quarterback needy, and the question is probably going to become for the Giants at the end of the day: do they like Shedeur Sanders enough to think that he's the guy? Draft him, because this is what Shane and Dable are going to rest their careers on ultimately. If they get Shedeur Sanders. So very interesting topic, but we want to just get into it. We'll talk about the good, things that we like, but of course things we dislike, because even at Rush we're split. So we'll just bring it in now. But first and foremost, my partner in crime, Truth. What is going on?
What's going on, Spartan? This is going to be a good show. I have a funny feeling.
I got a funny question for you.
Yeah.
And I want to hear it. You were there for the 2004 NFL draft, right? What was going through your head? Did you approve of the Giants trading up for Eli Manning at the time?
Yes. I wasn't as deep as a draft researcher like I am now, like I have been the last 12, 15 years, but I just liked Eli a lot. And to be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to happen. Before that trade was finally made, there were a little bit of talks about it. I thought we were going to keep Rivers, and I was, I guess, fine with it, But I was happy that they made the trade, even though we did give up a first round the following year. It kind of bothered me, but overall, I was happy.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny, you give up that first pick that the following year, and you say to yourself, if you get it right, though, you won't regret it. Like, we do not care, looking back, what we lost in 2005. In fact, we got 3 Pro Bowl caliber players between Webster, Jacobs, and Tuck, right? So, I still have to draft good in the mid rounds. But let's bring in our special guest, the guy. He's been very high on Shedeur, not just this past year, guys. I want everybody to know Sean has been calling it and been following Shedeur's career ever since he was at Jackson State, and he's been a fan. So let's bring him in right now. Joker, what is going on?
Special guest. I like the sound of that. Thanks for making me feel special.
As if
Appreciate
you're not on
that.
this program more than you are.
I know. Can I be special anymore with the amount I'm on? But it makes
you're
me
always
feel good,
special regardless of how often you're on. We want you to know that.
That's nice. So yes, I followed his career at Jackson State. I was a big fan of his dad too, going back to when his dad played in college. Loved his dad, up until his dad played for the Cowboys. So, and then I hated him. But once he left the Cowboys, that was good again. Listen, you get genes like that. You're the son of arguably the best defensive back in the history of the NFL, a Hall of Famer, and you're talented as is. I'm going to take that. It's the same way I was high on Joey Porter Jr. I wanted the Giants to draft him over Banks because his dad was a really good NFL player. I'm going to lean towards genes. I know you asked, Truth this question. I love to trade for Eli too. Like watching him in college, knowing what his brother was doing, knowing what his dad did, I was all for it. Loved the trade. I was very high on Eli there too. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, how about a depressing question since we're just starting off the fire with quarterbacks, right? Because we've drafted 2 first-round quarterbacks this century, and we addressed the one that we all know and love. So let me ask you this. 2019, the Giants draft Daniel Jones. What were your guys' thoughts at the time? Did you like Daniel Jones? Did you think that he was viable, or what he couldn't do in Duke, he was going to do it in the NFL level? I don't want to hear your question, your answers for that. And Joker, we can start with you, and then Truth go over to you.
Yeah, I mean, there was other guys that I had wanted. I mean, truth be told, I was mad that Justin Herbert went back because that's the guy that I wanted.
Yeah, I think the Giants were mad that Herbert went back.
Yeah. But at the time, like I didn't really have much of a reaction. I wasn't like angry. I wasn't excited. I was just kind of like, eh. And then I did a little research. I'm like, all right, well, maybe this guy can be good. And then I was there live for his debut, right? And he did well. I was like, all right, there's some potential here, right? And I think there was
good first year, truly, not just a good first game. I mean, it was kind of like, well, yeah, he could play, he can go.
Yeah, but as we all know what happened, and it's easy to be like, all right, yeah, no more on this guy. But no, at the time, like, what bothered me is the reaction of the media at the time. Like, what's his name there, Golick Jr. and Mina Kimes with their reactions, like that bothered me. Like that, like be a little more professional, regardless if the guy's good or not. Like be professional. He got drafted. Whether you like it or not, I could care less. But be a little more professional. So that's the only thing that bothered me. But the draft itself, I was like, I just decided to do a little more research on him once he got drafted.
Yeah. What about you, Truth? I mean, did you think Daniel Jones was a good quarterback at the time?
Well, I did not expect him to go 6th overall. I'm as you know, I'm a defensive guy. I wanted Josh Allen, not the Josh Allen from Buffalo, Josh Allen from Kentucky, who went to Kentucky. I wanted him so badly. I thought the way the draft was going, I said, "Oh my gosh, we're going to get Josh Allen." And no, I wasn't happy with the selection at the time, but I did grow to like Daniel Jones, especially his rookie year. I saw what he did under Shermer, and I think that really hurt him. Shermer leaving, I think they had a good connection. But it is what it is. We don't know if he could have done, taken that next step if Shermer stayed and was given more than 1 year. But we'll never know. But I wanted Josh Allen.
Yeah. Well, look, we fast forward 6 years. I mean, you look back, the Giants have only taken 2 first-round quarterbacks since 1980. I mean, it's really infrequent. So if the Giants were to do this with Shedeur, this is actually a very rare moment for the New York Giants. And of course, we hope that it continues to be a rare moment, not because you gave a bad quarterback too much time, but because your franchise quarterback was so good, you don't have to draft one every 3 years. Like, I'm losing track with the Bears and the Jets where they're at, right? Because they do it so damn often. But we're kind of in this circumstance now, guys, where the Giants have a decision to make. They got a quarterback that's good enough, in my opinion, to win ball games. He can win ball games. Will they? That's a different story. It depends on how the team comes together, right? They can do it with Russell Wilson. But Russell Wilson's not the future of the franchise. I don't think they have a shot at Cam Ward anymore. I think Tennessee wants him a lot. So it's not really worth having this episode with Cam Ward. If we trade up or some miracle situation happens, we'll come back to it. We will. But the Giants are now faced with the decision, and actually, should the Browns pass on Shedeur or nobody trades up or whatever the case is, if Shedeur Sanders is available, do the Giants get him? Well, you ask a lot of people on Twitter, and you got a whole lot of different opinions. Sean, Truth, if you post something positive about the dude or you post something negative about the dude, you're going to get a lot of people in your comments because there's a lot of debate going on. It is not constant. And it's not constant amongst analysts, too, or NFL insiders, what they're reporting from front offices. Of course, there's going to be different varying views on the quarterbacks. This happens every year. There wasn't consensus elite views on Patrick Mahomes, or this didn't exist for Aaron Rodgers when he came out in 2005. This is common, right? So we're pretty much starting from the top. Let's just get into it. Shedeur Sanders, 4-year starter, 2 years at Jackson State, 2 years at the University of Colorado. His numbers, he put up a great resume while he was there. He's a very explosive player, and we've been missing that. We have been missing explosive plays. Sean, let's just
Yeah.
start with you. What do
Yeah.
you love about Shedeur Sanders?
This. I love this. I love this move. I love this
You
move.
got
No,
the
I'm just
bling.
kidding. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just kidding. No, in all seriousness, I do love that. I love his confidence. Like he's a leader and he goes about things a little differently. So that sets people off. But his teammates respond to him. They responded to him at every college he's been at, Jackson State and Colorado. And that's what you want. You want a quarterback who your teammates are going to follow. Even when he criticized the O-line responded by playing better. Like he didn't lose it. They didn't quit on him. That team has never quit on him whatsoever. And I love that he's extremely just calm in the pocket. Like we saw for 2 years, his O-line was not great at Colorado and never phased him. He made big plays late in the game, even though he was getting beat up all game. You know, didn't have a good running game. He didn't have a tight end safety valve to work with. So I just love that nothing gets by him. But I absolutely love the confidence and the swagger. You know,
Sure.
I don't say aura. It's just not my thing. Swagger is my thing. So I just love that. We need that. I feel like we need that. The Giants definitely need that type of leadership. So that's what I love about him.
Yeah, it's funny with that leadership too. I mean, we've had a history in this franchise of players that have that and players that kind of don't. They have the humble, the not necessarily humble, but more just like they're just low key personality types, right? And Eli Manning's the perfect example. But we have people act like that's the prototype for Giants football. That's not true. Michael Strahan was the epitome of kind of similar to what Shedeur is, right? It's big. I'm a Gen Zer, so forgive me, but he has big aura. You know what I'm saying? Frank Gifford. It's actually the same thing. The Giants in the 1950s, they kind of actually had a similar aura back then relative to what it is now. And the thing is, if you fall on your face, if Shedeur doesn't work out, yeah, it's probably that there might be some embarrassment to it. There might be people holding jokes over his head, whatever the case is. But if he balls out, he's, the media is going to love him, and he's also going to set himself up successfully in New York for the long run, right? Expect him to replace Michael Strahan on Good Morning America. Expect those kinds of things because he kind of has that energy.
Well, what people forget too is Phil Simms was a fiery quarterback. He had passion to him. He wasn't that media savvy guy where he gave just the answers that the media wanted to hear. He was a little controversial, right? And listen, if anybody can handle the New York media and that, I mean, Shedeur was raised on this. This kid was born to be around and in the spotlight. He's been in the spotlight his entire life. He knows nothing else, and he handles it well. So that's what you want here. It's I don't want that cookie cutter anymore. With John Mara and his whole optics thing. I'm tired of optics. I don't want optics. I want wins, and I want somebody genuine. That's what I want, and that's a personal style for me.
I get it. And I mean, truth. I mean, we're kind of on the topic of strengths, but feel free if you want to talk about the strengths, go for it. We're obviously going to talk about it, but feel free to respond if there's anything else to add to the lots of points that we just kind of covered there.
Well, look. Shedeur Sanders does have strengths. He's not a bad quarterback, and I'm going to be probably among us three to give more negatives, but it's like splitting hairs here. I'm not gonna say this guy's not worthy of a high first round grade. Not at all. In terms of stats in college, among all the college quarterbacks that are being drafted right now, he graded in the top 3 in about 3 to 4 categories, which is pretty impressive. Overall grade, he was number 3. Mm-hmm. Turnover worthy. He holds on to the football, and that's something that Giant fans didn't see with the earlier Daniel Jones, how he had issues holding on to the football, right? And when the pocket is clean, which was very rare in Colorado, he had a very high percentage. He had 94.1%. So, when he's in a clean pocket, he could throw the football. He's good. The negative side of that, sometimes in some games, I've watched games with him, he looked phenomenal. He really did. And I watched other games where he kind of abandons the pocket a little too soon, just by what it looks like on TV. And there are scouting reports that do say the same thing. And that's something that could be taught, obviously, that he can learn to stay in the pocket a little bit longer, be patient. I worry about, I think what everybody knows, and Sean probably knows this too, is his arm strength. Now, he has great accuracy. And I think he ranks right up there with that among his peers. But when you're playing in Giant Stadium, during those days when the winds are blowing in that stadium, accuracy is not the key thing. It's a strong arm. So you worry about that a little bit.
Yep. Can
Right?
I interject on that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So a couple things with that. First, Giant Stadium wins now aren't like they used to be at the old stadium, and that's been come out and said a couple times, which is good. And then also he plays in Boulder, which is extremely windy. So being able to handle the wind out there, and playing against teams like Washington and such. So I get the concern. He doesn't have the elite arm, but I think it's stronger than people realize, and it gets hidden by the fact that the majority of his games or half his games, whatever, are played in Boulder, and it's usually windy and cold there, which is hard. So I want to kind of interject that before I forgot it, Truth. So thanks.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Every quarterback in this draft has flaws. Everyone. Even Cam Ward was going to be the first one, obviously the first quarterback picked in the draft, first overall. He has flaws as well. But with Shedeur Sanders, I just, you sit there and what if, let's play the what if scenario. If Sanders is there at 3 and Carter's there at 3, what do you do? That's not an easy decision to make. That is a tough decision to make. I understand the need for a quarterback. I get it. Future quarterback. But you're talking about a guy arguably who could be a generational talent. I know we've had this conversation before about what that definition means of a generational. So that's a tough one for the Giants. I really think the pass on that, if that's a scenario that happens on draft night.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and obviously, like, we would hate to look back and find out Shedeur was a bust, and then Hunter or Carter went on to be a Hall of Famer, right? And that's kind of the risk that you run really in any draft where you get a quarterback. But it's one of those things. If you get the quarterback pick right, no one's going to be concerned over who they passed on. If you got a quarterback that could win championships, that was regularly, in and out of the Pro Bowls, All Pro, elevating their team, elevating their ceiling, keeping people employed between coaches, management for 12 years. I don't think we'll look back and really concern ourselves with the players we passed on. However, that is if Shedeur balls out, right? And so that kind of more of like an if. And so the question is, do the Giants feel that he could be the guy, right? And if they don't feel like, if they're like, man, we really can't work with him, then yes, I hope they don't draft him. And this is purely from the Giants standpoint, not from mine. Then I hope the Giants do what they think is right in the franchise and not what they think would save their careers. Because I will say, if the Giants have a losing season and they don't have a rookie quarterback on the roster, it would be tough to justify. Maybe not even shame so much. But Dable might be gone after 3 losing seasons straight.
Yeah, but I mean, their moves so far haven't shown that they're worried about making moves that are going to save their career. Like, they're making the best football moves. So, and
Dunleavy worried about desperate moves, and we haven't seen that.
Everybody has. It's lame. Like, it's lame for anybody to worry about. It's a stupid narrative. Like, first of all, every football coach wants to win. So you're always looking at your job and thinking about your job. So that, again, that's just a dumb statement. I'm very opinionated tonight. Sorry. But when these things go out there, right? Like, they signed Winston, they signed Russell Wilson because now they don't have to be forced into something at that number 3 pick. If Shedeur is there and they want to draft him, they can get him. If they have an opportunity to get Ward, they can get him. But they don't feel like they have to. They're in a good position. Whereas, if you try to force a pick at 3 with a quarterback because you need a quarterback, like, all the moves they're making are good, smart football moves. So this panic shit gotta stop.
Okay, I agree with that. Let me throw a wrench in here. The moves getting Wilson and Winston doesn't mean only exclusively that they're preparing if Sanders will be there at 3 or not. What if they're not fully sold on Sanders at 3? So they got these 2 guys, and maybe they'll get another quarterback later in the draft. We don't know, right? That's a
Oh, yeah,
definitely
no,
a
yeah,
possibility.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like when all
Yeah.
options are open, yeah,
And
they're
I'm
prepared there.
yeah, they
And
made
let
the
me-
right moves at quarterback, whether you draft a quarterback or not.
Right.
Yeah, and let me tell you, and I'll probably get met with a lot of criticism here, and I'm not saying that these guys are gonna be, slam dunks, because we never know, no matter who, not even Ward, we don't know. But there are a few guys out there who I think, under the right guidance and coaching in this draft, quarterbacks are going to be pretty good quarterbacks in this draft. I think sometimes we just think about Ward and Sanders, and even sometimes people dismissing Dart. I think there are guys out there that are going to surprise people, and within their 5-year rookie deals. I think you're going to be shocked.
Yeah. It gets really hard to predict, though, with those mid-round picks. Like, the
It
success
is.
really
It
falls
is
out.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing with Dart is, and I'll be honest with you, I'm willing to bet a lot of money he's not going to fall out of the first. People talk about him falling. It's not going to happen.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. There was a time he would have. Not anymore.
He might go late first. I don't see anybody in the top. Like the Jets aren't going to go quarterback. I don't think the Saints are going to go quarterback. I don't. Who else would take him high? Like Steelers. They're 17th? Is that what they picked?
Steelers are 21.
21. So that may be the earliest he goes is 21.
Could be.
Steelers, right?
Yep. Especially
Maybe,
if the Rodgers doesn't pan out, right?
right. Maybe to the Rams potentially.
Raiders at 6. I don't think so. Me on the.
I mean, not after trading for Geno, and Geno's
Yeah,
still young enough
he's
to be
got a
there
few
for
more
year.
years left. Yeah.
And Pete Carroll's not going to wait on a rookie. Like they're not
Nope.
going to. He already said it. He doesn't.
That's why he made that trade, right? That's
He
why
hasn't
he's
he
quick.
hasn't done like that.
Absolutely. I think the big difference is like I get people are there. So what I like is if you can look at a guy later on in the second round, if you get a Carter or a Hunter or a Graham at 3 there, I just don't feel like, my personal opinion is I do feel that Shedeur is going to be there at 3, and I don't think the Giants are going to pass on him if he's there. Like
No.
there's just, as much as like we haven't known what the Giants are going to do, there's just so much around the Giant. And here's the other thing, which could be something, could be nothing, but I did take note, is that Daboll wasn't at the pro day. So
Right.
maybe he'll focus more on the individual workouts, but I'll be curious at Ward's pro day, I should say. I'll be curious to see if he shows up at Shedeur's pro day or not, because that could be something telling as well. I know he's more on the in-person interviews, and that means more because he can tell more about some guy in short, than just out there throwing in shorts and stuff. But yeah, I just don't. I personally think that Cleveland will pass on taking a quarterback. There's just
This is
something about-
100%. How high are you? What's your percentage on this?
I'm so before, like when the season ended, I was about 100% convinced that they weren't going to take a quarterback. I'm probably about 85% that they're not taking a quarterback. They may trade for one. They may try to get Cousins. There's some things out there. I just don't. And again, hearing Garrett say that he's excited about the plan at quarterback, I can't see him being excited about a rookie with what he has said before. So I'd say I'm about 85% that and there's a rumor out today that they're willing to trade out a number 2 as well.
Right.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, these top 2 teams don't need to put out smoke screens when it comes to being willing to trade out, because
Right.
they're
Let's
in
be
the
real. The
driver's
Titans
seat.
haven't been putting up any smoke screen. It's pretty obvious.
Well, hold on now. Didn't the Titans GM once say that he's not going to pass on a generational talent? You think he meant Ward when he said that?
I don't think he did, but maybe the more research he's done, they feel like he is. But there's also a report that came out today that said they're willing to listen to trades again. Like,
But it sounds like, from what I forget who reported it, but one of the New York media heads said that it's going to be a haul. Like whatever it is they're asking, it's probably
they're gonna just totally
hostage, because they could probably go either way. I can imagine the Titans being like, well, look, if we do get 3 first-round offers, we are all in our first year. They have a little flexibility to do it. I could imagine it, but I don't know if, and if someone's trading up 3 picks for Ward, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't give up 3 first rounds.
Yeah, they're not. Nobody's going to give that up. They might listen to something that's not a
Raiders did, but that's for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them. I mean, they could for something that maybe 2 first rounds and a second or third there too. Who knows? I mean, some teams are out there, but again, I don't Schefter pretty tapped in. Some other guys are kind of tapped in. Jeremiah, I think, is tapped in. So I'm very selective with who I listen to and what's putting out there. But again, they don't need to put up smoke screens other than if they're, of who they're going to take, especially Cleveland. Like, what do they got to lose by saying what they're saying? So I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. But what I do like is that we have no idea who the Giants are taking in the draft, and that's what I want to keep. Like, for 3 years, we've never known, and I love it. It's annoying the fans, but if you really look at it, it's great because nobody's going to take somebody you were interested in. So keep it up.
I'm gonna go to Green Bay, Ryan. That's the one thing. It's like, man, I don't know who we're getting tonight. It's gonna be a complete mystery until we actually make the pick.
Yeah, and I'll just say this real quick too. Like, I don't know if Watson's going to be ready come season, but Myles Garrett is a fan of Deshaun Watson. He's come out and said positive things about him a number of times. He came out and was unhappy that the fans booed him when he got injured because he said he's a good quarterback. So if there's a chance that Watson could come back, that might be the plan for them, is to stay with Watson, because Myles Garrett is a big fan of Deshaun Watson. So what we think as fans doesn't always align with what players think.
Right. And that in the interview with Myles Garrett, when he was kind of like, hinting that he knew what the plans were, who do you think he was referring to? A established quarterback or Shedeur Sanders?
Can I make a guess here? I actually still think the most likely thing for the Browns is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I still think that's the most likely thing. Now, we'll see if the Dallas thing holds truth, but I think right now Kirk Cousins makes the most sense. He worked with Stefanski when he was in Minnesota.
But when is that going to happen? Because the draft's only a few weeks away.
Well, that's the problem. I guess that they have to have a little bit of assurance that they're getting him, because, like, personally, I mean, if we were Browns fans, I couldn't imagine being like, oh yeah, let's roll into the season with Watson and Pickett. That seems reasonable. Like, we'd probably be as pissed as we are right now with the Giants quarterback room.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean they get Sanders. It's just I don't really know what other options they have to fill the quarterback void at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, watching Garrett's reaction, what he said about that he likes what the quarterback plan is, I just can't see him being excited about a rookie. Like, that's no offense. How much I like the guys, like, I don't see, and knowing what he has said, I think Cousins will get, if there is a trade for Cousins, it'll happen after the draft.
Right, that's what I saw too.
Yeah. So, I mean, Cleveland could take a quarterback later in the round, and maybe that's what Garrett was happy about. Like, hey, we're going to take a quarterback, but it's going to be later on. Like, he could be very happy with the fact that they're going to take Abdul Carter at 2, pairing up with him, and then take a quarterback in round 2 or something like that, right? So,
right.
I mean, if I'm Myles Garrett, I'd be pretty excited playing with Abdul Carter, right?
Yeah, I certainly would be too, but I'd also be, I would be excited to be with a rookie that might be a little bit more dynamic, even though, yes, Myles did say he didn't want to be with a quarterback or like a rebuilding franchise early on, but, money talked on that one.
Yeah. I have a feeling that Deion would not let Shedeur go to Cleveland. I know what Deion said in the past. I know he's playing it down.
I hate to say it. I hope we get an Eli Manning situation again.
I think behind closed doors that he would step in. I just have a feeling. He's not going to publicly come out and say it again, like this close to the draft, but I just have a feeling he would step in. I could be wrong, but that's just the gut feeling that I have. I think they want New York. I really do think they want.
That's obvious. They want. That's what I love about Shedeur too. He wants New York.
Yeah.
Well, the marketing. I mean, he can make more money probably in marketing and advertising than he could anywhere other than probably L.A.
Yeah, it's going to help build his brand. And again, he understands. Like, here, what I love what he said was, and this is, going back to the positives about Shedeur, aside from everything else he does really well, like, there's concerns. Let me be realistic. Obviously, there's concerns with him, but with his mechanics, he's a throwback pocket passer, but he has helped turn around 2 different programs. So when he kind of commented, like, when he was asked, it was one of the Giants beat reporters, I think, that asked him about, right? And he's like, yeah, he's like, I helped turn around, like, so the fact that he is good with helping turn around the Giants, like, that's the guy you want here. Like, Russell Wilson wanted to be here. That's what you want, guys that want to be here. So if you have that, absolutely give me that. Absolutely give me that. And it's tough. Like, listen, it's tough for me to pass on a Carter or a Hunter, but if you get your franchise quarterback, like, it's I don't know how you can pass that up, right? I don't know.
I
Yeah.
agree.
But in all fairness, Sean, to piggyback what you just said about Sanders, it did get a lot of help from his pop recruiting in Colorado. I mean, the roster and that talent on that roster was much better, once Sanders got there. So I wouldn't say that Shedeur turned that team around solely.
No, I'm not.
He did elevate the team, though.
I'm not saying
Well,
solely. I'm saying he helped turn around. I'm not
Yeah,
saying it's solely on him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, can I say this one thing too? And both of you actually brought this up, and it's interesting, right? Because Shedeur did deal with adversity in terms of the players around him. He did have Hunter; his receiver room was pretty good, but the O line crumbled. They gave up it was a pressure rate of like 40%, which would have been like the second highest in the NFL for an equivalent, right?
Yeah.
It was really bad.
And the interesting thing, Spartan, too, is that like he had a higher pressure percentage rate than Cam Ward, so he can throw under pressure as well, which is
exactly. And this is kind of my thing. We talked about every time Daniel Jones got an excuse for constantly getting sacked, constantly being under pressure. It's like, well, he can't do anything because he is under pressure. It was always, well, Jones couldn't do this because he was under pressure. At least we're saying with Shedeur, it's like, wow, look what he was able to do while he was under pressure. He put up a glorious resume. And that's the one thing that I'm really attracted to about this dude.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I absolutely agree with that. Like I said, I think some of the criticism is unfair because it has a lot to do with his dad. But the thing about Shedeur is he's a great student. He doesn't get in trouble, right? He's got great character, and he was raised the right way. Like, he comes from a good family. Yes, the family came from money. Yes, we don't like what Deion has to say some of the times, but he raised his kids right. Like, they don't get in trouble. There's no arrest. They're not doing drugs.
Right. His GPA is super high, 3.8. He's a smart dude.
Absolutely. So and again, you want leaders on the team, good character, but he also has that dog to him, right? And that's what the Giants have been lacking. They need that. So I think a lot of the criticism unfair. They're worried about, like, you see, like 75% of Twitter is worried about that Deion's going to flip out if he's not starting or he plays bad. Like, why are we worrying about what Deion's going to do? Like, let's focus on Shedeur and what Shedeur's going to do, what Shedeur can do. Like, focus on his play, not his dad.
All right, that's a fair point, but you don't think ownership thinks about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, but that's the problem with Mara. Like, he's got to stop thinking about this.
No, not just Mara. Not just you don't think other organizations don't think about that stuff. I mean, look what happened with Lorenzo Ball, his father, and in basketball. What a problem that was.
Yeah, but they still drafted him high. They didn't stop him from drafting him.
I know,
right?
but yeah, they had a lot of issues with him.
True, but Deion's not Lorenzo Ball. Like,
I think there's a difference there between Deion, like, because Deion might say something, but it's going to be more of like a constructive criticism. But at the end of the day, Deion's a good dude. He's a good coach.
Yeah,
all those things. And I will add this too. It's like, look, if we're doing bad, sure, the Deion's gonna add fuel to the fire, but everyone's gonna be crapping on us regardless. Like, at that point, it's I don't care anymore. Like, I'm used to everybody dumping on the Giants, and if Deion's got something to say about the way things are, being run, I'm like, I prefer it not to happen. But if we think that Shedeur's going to be the guy, I just don't really particularly mind it too much. And I don't know. I don't know if Shedeur, or I don't know if Shedeur's dad, I don't know if Deion's going to do it. I don't know if Deion would criticize anything the Giants do.
And if he does, so what? Who cares if he does, right? Like, how many dads don't come out and criticize things? I mean, there's plenty of moms.
Yeah,
and dads
but a Deion Sanders would he'll get published. He'll get airtime. Most dads won't get that, but he will.
Listen, Deion's, in my opinion, Deion's not going to do anything that's going to hurt his son's career. Like, Deion's above anything else. Deion is a very smart businessman. You think back to when he came out of college, the deals he made, everything he was doing. Like, Deion is not going to mess with his money or his business. There's no doubt in my mind. Well, and he's a coach. Like, he's going to be busy coaching Colorado. How much time do you think he has to come out and say something? And if he does, he's going to say it in a way that a coach would say it. That's my opinion. But you can't not draft the kid because you're worried about what the dad says.
No, that shouldn't be the main reason, but I'm sure that's in people's back of their minds. I'm sure.
I mean, it's being said in the chat room right now. Like,
yeah, there's an argument going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that
You know-
that you don't worry about that. You don't worry about that at all.
You know what I have
Yeah.
concerns about? We passed
Yeah.
on Micah Parsons, and I think where I'm going with this. We passed on Micah Parsons, man. That still bothers me that we did that. And I just wonder, could Abdul Carter be the next Micah Parsons? Similarities. I know they played the same school, they wear the same number.
Yep.
But he only had 1 year as an edge rusher, and look what he did: 11 and a half sacks. We don't even know if could he. How high is this kid's ceiling? Could he be like another 15 sack player and he gets to the pro level once he gets a little games under his belt, and what happens if that does happen? You have another Micah Parsons and you draft a quarterback who's good but not what you expected. So I know there's no guarantees, but that's what you have to think about. It's a big decision. I wouldn't want to be Shane here because this is going to be a tough one, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Yeah, it is a tough. Even for me, it's a tough decision. But again, like we can't keep passing on a quarterback. Like you can't keep pushing it off. And I don't know you can take. To me, there's not a gamble of a guy in the second round that you can take. Like for what this organization
like I just don't think
sees.
McCord. It's like people we're getting into like the weeds here.
Yeah,
It's
Kyle McCord had like one good year at Syracuse,
and then at that point we're getting him instead of getting like Walter Nolan or something like that. It's like look,
yeah.
But go ahead, Truth. Go ahead.
No. I'm just saying, it's not his fault that he only had 1 year because he transferred, but he did have a good year, and I understand that. That's why he's going to be probably in a day 2 pick. He's going to be in the top 10 because he only had 1 good year. I get it, and not that I'm advocating for McCord. I'm not. He's not my top 3 guy, but
what?
Well, can I make a right? I understand that, but I will
no,
say
wait.
yes. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say I don't think Sanders is the only option. Sean, you make it sound like if they don't get a quarterback at 3, they're not going to get a quarterback at all in this draft.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like the guys after that, like who's the guy you're going to get after that? Like Jalen Milroe, who's going to take a year or 2 to develop, and he's a long shot.
I think
Dart's not going to be there in the second round.
I'm not saying pick him in the second round.
You're going to trade. I'm not trading back up to get Jackson Dart.
Why not?
Are you?
Well, one of the issues is it's actually going to be expensive. Like if they have to trade back up to like 15 or 18 to get him. Like we're trading up into like the mid first. That's actually probably going to cost us next year's first.
We don't know what it's going to cost us. How do you know that?
To go from where we got to go in the second round to move up to the first, depending on where they go.
There's actually like a standard chart. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
10 spots, 12 spots. We don't know that. We don't know.
There's more concerns over Jackson Dart than there is over else. They're not. I know certain people say they're not close. They're not close. Dart is not close to Sanders and Ward. He's just not.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah. Wait a minute. This is where we're going to talk a little bit.
All right,
Dart played in a much more competitive conference in the SEC.
Yep.
He faced arguably better talent than Sanders ever did.
Yep.
Okay. So I don't know why you could say that there's a big gap. I don't think there's a big gap between them.
Listen, there's a lot of SEC quarterbacks that come out and don't do well in the NFL. Like the competition you go against doesn't always happen, right? Like Mac Jones did well in the SEC at Alabama. The offensive system he is very simplistic.
Mac Jones,
he didn't have to do a lot of thinking.
Mac Jones had a phenomenal team around him. Yeah,
he did.
He had phenomenal wide receivers.
Like Jackson Dart's got great. Yep, Jackson Dart's got good talent. He's got a great defense around him that helps, and that offense.
Yeah, not as good as Alabama though. Not as good.
No, of course not. But
at that time,
I like Jackson Dart. I wouldn't be upset if they took him in the second round. Like I wouldn't, but I don't. He's not the same player to me that Sanders is, and for the reason his footwork is bad. He hasn't had to do a lot of reading. He hasn't had to do a lot of reading of defenses.
I'm surprised he didn't have to spend another year in college because he would have made money in NIL. So I'm surprised he went out this early.
Yeah, I mean, I like to get like what he did against Georgia with an injured ankle. Absolutely impressive. So I'm not hating him. I'm just
LSU the year before LSU. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, but he also then you look at what he did against Florida, right? So when you got a really good team, that's the difference. Like Shedeur is in, and even listen, Cam Ward plays in the ECC. That's not a powerhouse conference, and people aren't using that against Cam Ward. So I don't know why they use the Big 12 against Colorado, against Shedeur, and considering Shedeur was also in the Pac-12 in 2023, which is where Caleb and Bo Nix came out of. So why are we downplaying the competition there for him, but not downplaying it for other quarterbacks?
Well, because we're not talking
And I'm
about
not
Cam
saying
Ward
you.
right
I'm
now.
not
We're
saying
talking
you.
about
Yeah, I'm not saying you specifically,
Yeah.
Truth, but that's what a lot of people do. Like, again, how many quarterbacks can we name that came out of the SEC that haven't had great careers, even though they were productive in college? So
Yeah, you can say that about every conference. You're right. You can say that about every conference.
yeah,
And
listen,
I will say this too.
the
It's
GM over here. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted
No,
by
you're
the
good.
GM because he
What-
does the same stuff on Twitter. Like the GM, I don't know who he is, and is he a buddy of yours, Truth? Because
No.
we interact a lot.
yeah. I don't mean any offense when I say this, but he does this. It's like the same thing all the time. Like there's no way that Dart is better than Sanders. I can give you all the reasons. I can name it all here.
I don't know, but I don't know. Look, I'm not going to proclaim they're going to be better in the NFL because no one knows that until they go out there and play. But I just don't think there's such a big gap that everybody thinks there is. I really think this, like I said in the beginning, every quarterback has flaws. Every single one come out of this draft.
Of course.
So, now the question is, can they be taught? Can they progress into the point where they could be, very good, productive NFL quarterbacks? That remains to be seen. I don't know the answer to that. So,
look,
well,
I
here's the other thing.
personally
Shedeur
is
is
starting
Shedeur is the,
for rookie year. I actually like it when QB sit, but like I will say this: Sanders is the most day one ready.
Yes.
Dart would have to sit a year because he's not ready for the NFL. I mean, there's a lot of things that are raw about.
So that's a good point right there you made, Spartan. Now you want to think, how high is Sanders' ceiling now?
Sure.
Is he close to his ceiling, or is he still have a long way to go? Like Ward, people think his ceiling's not there yet, or even Dart, they think his ceiling could be much higher under the right coaching. So we don't know.
So here's a couple things I'll say. Number one, Shedeur is the most polished passer in this class without question. Not even close. Nobody's close to him when it comes to being a polished passer. The second thing, from a former coach perspective, is the problem with ceiling, and I know a lot of people do this, and again, this is nothing against it, but if somebody has a really high floor and their floor is really, really high, I'll take that because there's so many people who don't reach their ceiling. Like, it's that potential word, right? Like potential. Ceiling and potential are interchangeable for me. So yes, Ward has a higher ceiling, but it doesn't mean he's going to reach that ceiling.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
I get worried with that term ceiling because the reason that Jones was drafted is because they saw his measurables and were like, okay, even though he didn't really do that well in college, we have this conviction that he might do better when he gets to the NFL because of these measurables. And I feel like, you bring up a good point, Truth. You got to look at the ceiling. But I do think, if you just plainly take what Shedeur did in college and translate it 1-for-1 into the NFL, like if you tell me his ceiling is, and this is just, spitballing, but like 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, like just peer for peer, then I'm just going to take that because it's more of a guarantee. Now, the question is going to be, it's like, okay, he balled out in college, but what part of his games won't translate to the NFL? Right, like Malik Willis or something like that. They're going to have to look into those things. But the bottom line is, if Shedeur hit his ceiling, that's fine by me as long as the Giants have conviction that it's going to translate to the NFL because it's good enough with what he's doing today.
Yeah, and you look at what, again, certain people have done, but like when you look at, there was and I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but somebody did a great breakdown, and a lot of Shedeur's numbers were very similar to what Joe Burrow did when it comes to percentages and all those things. It was actually a great breakdown. So if you're looking at that and you can do that, then I'll take that. And what I like, again, what Shedeur is different and why I think he gets overlooked is he's not that Mahomes type. He's not that, the Caleb type that everybody gushed over. So I think people forget that there's more to being a quarterback than having a cannon arm or having, elite speed out of, like, his mental capacity as a quarterback is off the charts. His football IQ is off the charts, and his genes are off the charts, right? Like, you can't discount that either. Like, you're arguably learning from, again, a Hall of Famer who is arguably the greatest cornerback to ever play sport. You're not telling me you can't pick up on little things that you see a DB's doing that his dad has taught him? Like, that's an advantage. Now, whether or not he's going to be good, no, we can't predict it. But I feel pretty confident that he's going to do very well in the NFL. Like I felt like on other quarterbacks were going to do very well, right? He's been comped to C.J. Stroud. Like, would you guys take a C.J. Stroud as the Giants quarterback?
I will gladly. I will do this. Who
comped him to C.J. Stroud? Who was that?
Was it
one person that did it? And
no, there was a couple, and it was a couple of the analysts when I was looking before. Was it Lance Zierlein was one? I think. It was one of the big time people that do it, the draft analysts. Because again, I don't go at all like those.
All right, that's fine. I just look. Look. I respect your opinions, both of you guys. I just think.
Of course you do.
I just think that they're a lot closer than what people think. I just think that
between Dart and Shedeur.
Yeah, I just think they're all. I think he's a lot closer than what people think. That's why you even said yourself, Spartan, he ain't gonna make it to the second round.
No, he's not making it to the second round. I will gladly give you one thing about Shedeur that I don't like about his game. It is fixable. There are things about him when I watch Shedeur that I'm like, hold up a sec. Too often, and Caleb Williams does this. Too often he tries to scramble to keep plays alive, and it doesn't really work out. Caleb Williams had a lot of flashy plays in college where he's scrambling back in the pocket, he's trying to keep the play alive, and then throws the ball, or he gets sacked. The problem is Shedeur, he doesn't have that kind of speed, and it has resulted in pretty nasty negative plays. But here's what I think the Giants should do with him. Maybe Shermer didn't go over this with him. Shedeur gets knocked for not being for not being mobile. I actually don't think that's true. It just kind of looks like he's not told he's told not to run because he keeps running backwards. He can run backwards. I think what he should do when he gets to the NFL is, if your first couple guys aren't there within this time frame, just run it for 4 yards or take it out of bounds. I think that's one thing that he can work on, though. It's trying to keep the play alive too much. Don't put your team in a bad situation because he took some pretty bad sacks there.
He did a lot more of that at Jackson State than he did at Colorado. He's faster than people realize. I don't know where he doesn't have good speed or he's slow.
His rushing yards were low, but it goes back to it. He clearly was told not to run because he had opportunities to.
Yeah, and the rushing yardage is impacted by sacks. You get negative yards when you're sacked and you're rushing.
And there were a couple negative 20 burgers in there. There were.
There's a lot of them. And the other thing he does really well is he said it himself. He's going to try to pass first. He's going to scramble last. And I think that was taught in him. But he also manipulates the pocket really well. There's a lot of times where I've seen him reestablish the pocket after scrambling, or even just footwork within a tight pocket where he then moved around, gave some extra time, and then made a dart of a throw. So he can do it, and he can hit all the throws. That's the thing. He can hit every NFL throw that's out there. So again, his arm's not.
And his accuracy with the route wheel is actually the best since of anybody. Jaden Daniels had the best last year, and Shedeur has it this year, and they look very similar.
And here's what I think. I think he's an ideal fit for Daboll's offense because he is good with timing. He's good with accuracy. Daboll wants accuracy. He wants a quarterback who's not going to turn the ball over, right? That's exact. He talks about getting it out, hitting it in, with anticipation. He wants a guy that can lead the receivers, which we didn't have, but you hear Daboll talk about it, that's exactly what he wants. So to me, Shedeur is ideal. His strengths fit right in with Daboll's offense, which people don't realize. And he throws a really good deep ball. He throws a catchable ball. People think some of his throws have been underthrown, but he does it intentionally to get his receivers a chance to catch the ball and make a play. He doesn't
don't
underthrow.
Do that in the NFL. Don't underthrow on purpose in the NFL.
Why? Quarterbacks do all the time. Back shoulder.
No. That's on the sidelines. I'm talking about down the field. Don't throw under on purpose because.
Oh yeah, no, he doesn't.
You're dealing with better athletes, grown men who are going to take the ball away from the receiver.
Yeah, but he's also smart. So the couple of times he's done it in college where it's been in the middle of the field, nobody else has been around, and it's been a one-on-one. And he allowed and again, the weather can impact that too. But it's not that his arm is not strong. He has a strong arm. If you watch the workout tapes with him and Ward, that ball comes out of his hand quick. He's got zip to that ball.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When I watched the combine, I hate it when they have these quarterbacks thrown with shorts on, nobody in their face. Anybody who's athletic, who's played quarterback, can make throws. I mean, that doesn't impress me. I want to see them game film. That's what I look at. I want to see them equipment on, being rushed, being pressured. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I'm not big on it too, but what you can tell is you can tell the footwork, the mechanics, and you can tell how the ball comes out of their hands. That's what I'm talking about. And he didn't throw at the combine, but him and Cam in their private workouts, you can see how the ball comes out of his hands. You can see the zip on the throw.
I get it, but it's easy to have those mechanics when you have nobody coming down your neck and trying to hit you.
But he has them in the game too. He has those mechanics in the game, is what I'm saying. It translates over. And Cam Ward has trouble with footwork in games as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, they're not perfect. I've seen games where he throws the ball off the back foot, rushing it.
Well, of course,
they all do it. And here's what I think. I think, not that I would do this, but if Carter's taking it too, there's a higher probability they're going to take Sanders. If Carter's sitting there at 3 with Sanders, I think the odds greatly diminish that they're taking Sanders.
Do you think though?
How could you be sold to take Sanders at a high percentage if Carter's sitting right there with him, knowing that you passed on Micah Parsons a few years back? I just don't know.
I think the difference was, look, if the Giants walked away from that Micah Parsons draft with a franchise quarterback, we'd probably look back at that draft differently and be comfortable with it, right? Like Myles Garrett was taken in 2017 instead of Patrick Mahomes, and you say to yourself, look, he's a phenomenal player, but Mahomes would have changed the fortune of the Browns. I'm not trying to compare Shedeur to Mahomes.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I understand, like, pound for pound, people are generally putting Carter higher than they are Shedeur, just in pure talent respective to their position. But we're dealing with the quarterback position. So the question is going to become for the Giants, do you have conviction that you can work with this dude and he can be that guy that can be, a quarterback that you can win because of? And if so, then you can justify passing on Carter. But if you feel like just in general, any quarterback there is going to be a project, or you don't have that conviction, then I'm completely with you, Truth. You get Carter and you go.
You see, I'm thinking, wait, hold on. I'm thinking that I don't think that the Giants are 100% sold on taking Sanders. I don't think I think that they have other quarterbacks in their back of their mind that they would be comfortable with, whether they're right about that or not. I just don't think they're set on one guy. That's why I think if Carter's sitting there, they would do that. They get the quarterback later. And a lot of fans won't like that idea or that ever happened. But you got to admit that is a possibility. It's not just Sanders at 3 and nothing else.
Well, here's why I think it is that. Two things: the Winston and the Wilson signing, or because they might have been worried that the Browns were going to take Sanders at 2, and they can't be left without a veteran quarterback. They've done the most research on Sanders out of any, somebody from the Giants front office organization has been at almost every single one of Sanders' games this year, and they went to a couple of his practices. We'll see who turns out at the pro day, but I do think they're high. There's been no other now, unless they're keeping it under wraps of other quarterbacks they're going at, but they weren't at a lot of darts games. They weren't at McCord. They didn't put as much effort into other quarterbacks as they did Sanders.
Right. So, that doesn't mean anything, though. Remember, listen, I know it's a different era, but Bill Parcells didn't once talk to Carl Banks, never interviewed him, nothing. Stayed away from him, and he picked him 3rd overall in '84.
Do they do the standard thing they do now, where they do talk to 30 players though, the 30? That's
30 visits. Yeah, there's still
visits. Yeah, but I'm talking about when they had the Senior Bowl and stuff. When I think Parcells was doing it back then. He did not even go near Carl Banks. Stayed away from him because he didn't want anybody to know his interest.
Well, here's the other thing. I mean, and again, Daboll was at Jaden Daniels' pro day last year. They were higher on Stroud than they were Young. They were higher on Daniels over other guys as well. So my feeling is this: if they believe Shedeur is the guy and they take Shedeur, I'm not going to be upset if they take Ward or Hunter or Carter at all.
No.
Don't get me wrong.
No.
Not at all. However, I do think there's just something about what they've done and what they've shown with Sanders that leads me to believe they want to be with him. There's a small part that's like,
I believe it.
right? Like, there's just, I think they like what he offers. I think they like what he brings. I think they like his attitude, and I think they feel, because remember, Shane has said a number of times, not everybody can be a quarterback in New York. Not everybody can handle the New York media and the New York market, and I believe
I think he can.
that he can. Yeah, I do.
All right, hey guys, we are kind of coming up on time here. We have a bit of a hard stop. I got one more question for you. And this is just an important one so that everybody can kind of feel like a reference point out there. Where would you rank Shedeur amongst the quarterbacks last year if he was coming out in the year 2024? Sean, we'll start with you, and then Truth, want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, well, listen, and I've said this, and again, I've been high on Shedeur for a while, but I would have had him as quarterback 3 last year. I had him definitely ranked over Caleb Williams.
Wow. So who was the other 2 then?
So May and Daniels were the other 2 in my top 3. Yep.
Okay. I mean, I would have probably put him. It's not that far from Sean. I would have probably put him 4th
over Nix and Penix.
Yeah, I would put him 4th. I think it's hard to say Khalid Williams. I'm not a big fan of him. Williams, but I just think the hype and the play, the Heisman, winning the Heisman, and then I just think he would have still had a little bit of an edge over him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I would have put him at 4th, but truthfully, I would have put Penix higher. So I mean, I'll keep it honest to where I was. I would have put him as the 4th best quarterback. So people saying 7, I don't agree with that.
No, I don't think 7th. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, honestly, no. I don't actually. I'm gonna change. I'm actually gonna move that to 3 because, like, looking back, I truly didn't. I didn't personally love May that much last year.
He was all right. I wasn't crazy about him, but
right. But yeah, hey guys, look, we just want to have this episode. We said this wouldn't go as long as it normally does. We actually went right to the hour, and it felt like it went super fast. So good. I mean, listen, guys, I'm glad we had this discussion because, it's an if. It's a real possibility the Giants get Shedeur, and it's controversial. There's a lot of debate. And Truth, to your point, man, it really sucks if we pass up on anybody generational. It doesn't work out, right? But all things on the table. Glad we had this discussion. Giants fans, stay tuned. We got more. What's next week, Truth?
Next week, let me look at my little calendar here. Let me see. I don't even know where it is.
I could just check the emails.
Yeah, we'll check. We'll set it in on next. We'll let you know.
Well, Giants fans, thank you all for tuning in. Sean, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always. We'll see you next week. We're getting close to the draft. 1 month out, everybody. Peace.
Take care.